This is the IBJ podcast for the week of Monday, May 6th, 2019. I'm Mason King. You could argue we've reached a tipping point on water quality on a global scale. We could talk for hours about the garbage and algae blooms in our oceans and the sewage released near our beaches on the coasts. For today, let's look inland at our drinking water.
Contaminated water at two different elementary schools in Menominee Falls is forcing students and staff to only have bottled water. Last month, tests came back positive for coliform.
The city of Plano will address water quality concerns tomorrow that residents in many North Texas cities also have.
When officials tapped into the Flint River here for the city's drinking water, the strong chemicals needed to clean the water ended up corroding the pipes, contaminating the water with lead.
In many cities, the infrastructure for potable water is deteriorating, impinging on quality. In Flint, Michigan, the crisis that began in 2014 is believed to have exposed more than 100,000 residents to elevated levels of lead. In rural areas, residents fear how nearby industry and agriculture can affect their groundwater. Several years ago, Megan Glover tried to figure out how easy it would be for consumers to check the purity of water in their own homes. As it turned out, not very easy at all. In 2016, Glover co-founded the firm 120 Water Audit, which initially set out to help put water testing kits in the hands of consumers. It quickly discovered that cities, states, school districts, and public water systems desperately needed high-tech solutions for managing their water testing programs and all the data they collect. And that led the company to a pivot to software. Now, just about everything needs water to grow. In the world of startups, you also need money. 120 Water Audit got off the ground with $130,000 in startup funds, including a good chunk from co-founder and local serial entrepreneur, Chris Baggett. It raised about $2 million in seed funding last year. It's now seeking capital for an aggressive Series A round and is aiming for at least $5 million. So, several days ago, I sat down with Glover to talk about the company's roots and the serious business of seeking investors. Megan, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Completely going to take you out of the context just for a second.
Okay.
Give me 2 or 3 words that describe your state of mind over the last 3 years.
Oh my goodness. Exhausted and excited. They're the two ends of entrepreneurship, right? Yeah. The highs are the highest thing you've ever experienced outside of your family. And then the lows are the lowest of things that you think you can dig yourself out of.
And even when you're excited, that's kind of exhausting, I would imagine.
Yeah, but it's adrenaline, right? It's the adrenaline that keeps you going.
And when you came into the office today, can you say kind of what you were concerned about?
Oh, so obviously, as you can imagine, it changes by the day.
Yeah.
We are in fundraising mode. So I had a number of back-to-back fundraising calls, and I was worried about nailing those while also solving a client issue that came up the day before.
Okay,
yes.
You keep the client to yourself, but
okay.
We'll talk about fundraising in a second. But let's establish some basic parameters first. 120 Water Audit was founded in 2016.
Correct.
With one employee, and that is you.
Me.
Okay. How many employees do you have now?
We have 19 full-time employees.
And how many do you expect to have, let's say, in 3 years?
Oh, in 3 years. I mean, our financial model has us going up into the 50s in terms of what we're forecasting over the next 3 years.
What was your revenue for 2018?
Oh, we don't really disclose that, but we were 2.4 million.
2.4 million in 2018?
In 2018.
Okay, thank you for disclosing that.
I actually think I can disclose it because it's public. We've done a couple pitch competitions and whatnot where we had to disclose that. So.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah, I'm not letting anything out of the bag.
I read it on the internet.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. You have 2 kids.
2 kids.
How old are they?
8 and 5.
Tell us what 120 Water Audit does and explain it to me. Let's go with a 5-year-old. How do you explain that to the 5-year-old? What do you do?
So my kids actually, this is the first business I've been a part of where they actually get what I do because mommy cleans water.
Okay.
I mean, truly, and they don't know that we actually sell the software and the kits that actually makes that possible. But my son has actually seen me in his school, doing the Lead in Schools programs and actually testing the water. And so they know that mommy helps clean the water.
Let's bring it up to about 12.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. So.
Or what did you just tell your potential investors?
Yeah. So 120 Water, we actually sell enterprise software and point-of-use kits to government agencies, so statewide government agencies, public water systems, and facilities such as daycares and schools to execute lead and drinking water programs.
I believe the business started with kits.
It did.
Is that right?
Yeah. In 2016, myself and two co-founders, Dave Cole and Chris Baggett, we launched 120 Water Audit as a e-commerce business, really to provide an easy-to-use kit for consumers to test their water for different things, various outside of lead. And we really thought that the consumer market would be the market that would attach to the kits. And it was actually the school districts and the water systems that started calling us and asking about testing their facilities and helping them with their customer base.
Who, if you can say, who are some of your current customers now, and what are you doing for them?
We have customers now in 10 states, including 2 statewide contracts, one with the state of Indiana and one with the state of Maryland. We have city contracts such as the city of Pittsburgh, city of Chicago, Providence, Kenosha. So we are in 9 states. Our software has been implemented to manage hundreds of thousands of locations that are being tested for lead in drinking water. And we've actually impacted, through our solution, 3.4 million lives. That's the net effect of the programs that our clients are running with regards to lead in drinking water.
And don't these guys have their own software for this kind of thing?
That's the entire reason why we exist.
Yeah,
they don't. And I was not, when we launched our kit, I was doing this as a side hustle. I had a very nice career in the tech community as a VP of marketing and sales development. And that was what this void of modern business applications is actually what made me kind of passionate about delivering the software to this industry, because I would go into our client, take Pittsburgh, and I would ask, where are you managing your programs? Where's the data? How are you doing this? And they'd point me to paper, and they would point me to a laboratory information system, and they would point me here, and they would point me there, and I was actually becoming their DBA, their database administrator. So I went back to my co-founders and I said, there's a consistent trend here, which is this industry is void in kind of these modern business applications to execute these new rules. So we prototyped a wireframe of a piece of software with $5,000 in the bank. It was our go broke moment, and took it to a conference and sold a contract. And then we took it to another conference, and that's where we were connected with the state of Indiana that pre-purchased the software, which really fueled the business.
So in a sense, you kind of started over again.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. Completely different model.
Wow. What is that moment like?
That moment is terrifying. Maybe that's the word I should have used at the beginning of the terrified. And I think our circumstance was a little different in that the solution, the platform actually had to be commercially available when they started the program. So not only, this is great, this is awesome, this is validation, but we also have to deliver it in rapid speed. So there wasn't a lot of sleeping going on the summer of 2017.
Yeah, I think, when maybe we in the press and maybe in folks in the tech industry talk about pivoting, we kind of make it sound like it's flicking a switch, that you take a meeting and then it happens. But I would assume that it's more difficult.
Yeah, I would say our pivot was natural because that's what the market was pulling. I think it's a different pivot when you're in a pull versus push market. When you're in the tech community and you're like, I think this product needs to exist, and you put it out there in the ether and no one buys it. That can be depressing. I think we felt comfort in the pivot because we were listening to the market and kind of validating it. But it is a mental switch in every status of the word. It's hard.
Is there something about, this moment in time? It seems like we're getting a lot more concerned about the quality of water. Is that kind of the genesis of the idea?
Yeah, so there are 2 macro factors that are happening, which makes us right in time solution, kind of on the precipice of this. The first thing is water as an industry, as a regulated industry, is one of the fastest moving regulatory sectors because there are rules that are changing, that are forcing change, and there's consumer sentiment that's forcing change, and we're actually seeing change translate into rules, regulation, and funding. So when you find like a market opportunity that has all those factors, that's the good time to be there. And then the other thing is being cloud-based technology, like our market right now wants that. It's craving that because if you've read The Third Wave by Steve Case, and if you look at like the trajectory of modern business applications and SaaS-based business applications, we're just now getting to these sectors such as government, right? Such as these public sectors that have yet to invest in modern business technology. And the two kind of combined, I think it really is what is forcing the demand for the business.
Now, take me back to just the very beginning. How did the company come about?
Over a cup of coffee. I was having a cup of coffee with my co-founder, Chris Baggett, and
Who you knew from what?
Compendium. He co-founded Compendium, which sold to Oracle, and I was employee number 5, and I built their marketing and sales development engine.
Gotcha.
And has been a mentor of mine throughout my entire career in tech. And we were meeting, I can't even remember, I'm sure we were meeting about Cluster Truck or some other marketing opportunity.
Yeah, which is one of his new companies.
Yeah, his new companies, because right at the same time, like literally actually 120 Water, I had a desk in Cluster Truck's offices before we got our first order, and I got kicked out of the conference room and I had to find additional space in my parents' garage. So anyway, we were, having coffee, and it was right at the height of the Flint water crisis.
Sure.
And hard to turn on a television in Indiana being so close without seeing something terrible, And he asked me a question. He's like, "Have you ever thought about this? Like, do you know what your kids are drinking?" I said, "No, I haven't." And so then the marketer in me, I remember sitting on my couch that night doing this research, saying, if I'm a consumer and I want to get my water tested, how would I go about doing that? And so that's literally the genesis of it. It was kind of, this crisis is happening. How would I go about controlling that situation at my own tap? Because I want to know. And finding there really wasn't a good solution to testing my water as a consumer.
So you called up Chris and said,
"You're not crazy?"
Yeah.
That good question. There's something here. I don't know what, but let's bootstrap and raise a little bit of money and figure it out.
So in the meantime, you still have your own job.
Yes, yeah. At that point in time, I owned 3 Dots Consulting, which I did basically high-level marketing consulting for startup companies in Indy.
What did it take to get it off the ground?
Obviously some capital, right? We had some really awesome partners at the very beginning too, worked with a lot of great branding folks and SEO folks and digital marketing folks. So to come up with a really great plan for launch, did a lot of good PR. So it was a lot of fun, to be honest with you. We didn't have a stress of an expectation of we needed it to be this. It was just like, let's build this and let's do it as fast as possible, because we were marching. We wanted to bring it to market as fast as possible.
When you think about like startup capital, about how much was it, you think?
$130,000. We actually raised less than $200,000 before getting our first big contract.
And was this kind of typical? It was, friends, families, stuff from your own pocket?
Absolutely. Stuff from my own pocket, Chris, Dave's, and then we had like 5 other friends on the cap table.
Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back with Megan Glover.
The IBJ podcast is sponsored by Nimbo IP, Indiana's top cloud solutions provider for voice, data, IT, and network security. Nimbo IP has proudly served Hoosier businesses since 1989. Let its innovative solutions put your business on the right path, plan, and platform for the future. Nimbo IP has been named one of America's best VoIP providers by Enterprise Networking Magazine. Call them today for a complimentary technology assessment at 317-574-1000 or visit them on the web at www.nimboip.com. Nimbo IP, your solutions in the cloud.
And we're back with Megan Glover, the founder and CEO of 120 Water Audit. What is that leap of faith like, though? Like, at some point you had to leave what you had already built to go full-time with this. Was that a hard sell for yourself?
It was a leap of faith, and it was a fearless leap of faith, because I've said this a few times. When you don't know what comes next, it's easier to take that leap. So it just, honestly, it was a leap of faith, but it took very natural because I was so convicted that this was what we should be doing.
So you find out as a CEO pretty quick, once you kind of get over that first hump, that you still need to raise money. So what was the first major round of financing that you asked for?
Our first major round of financing was our seed round, which closed last year. So up until that point, we had been funded just by that friends and family, past the hat. And again, we'd raised very little capital prior to our very large contract. And so our seed round was our first round where we really needed to go in front of investors, put together pitch decks, put together the whole pro forma, et cetera. So,
And how did you take to that?
probably how every CEO takes to it, which is begrudgingly one step at a time. Yeah, again, first time CEO here, not having gone through it, there are definite learning curves. It was a great experience in terms of you learn a lot during the process, and you get better at it the more you go through it. But it is, is it time intensive.
How so?
You have to kiss a lot of frogs to find the prince. No, truly. We were talking to an investor actually yesterday, and he said we were getting ready to take things to the next level. And he said, I just wanted to let you know, less than 5% of the companies I talk to, we actually take it to this level. And if you look at the odds, the odds are not in your favor, essentially, especially the larger rounds, the larger round you're raising, especially being in Indiana. So I would say we were lucky in that our round was timed right after we won the Steve Case Rise of the Rest Fund, which just completely accelerated that round.
So Rise of the Rest was Steve Case's, I want to say dog and pony show, but that's not right. Kind of a traveling show where he goes to promising tech cities like Indianapolis, and they have a pitch competition. But the grand prize is significant. It's $100,000.
Yeah.
And this was, I think, 2017.
Correct.
And 120 Water Auto won. And I was going to say, surely that $100,000 comes in handy. But what are the other benefits? Maybe some less tangible benefits of winning.
Yeah, and for us, it was actually less about the cash, because we knew we could find the cash, from the region, and it was more about the network. Because to your point, it's a couple things. I had read the Third Wave book even prior to knowing about Rise of the Rest. So just, being aligned with the thesis of what they're investing in and why just matches our core competencies in terms of we're providing, software to an underserved industry that's in dire need of modernization, right? So to win, not only did we get to tap into kind of a like-minded thesis, like, hey, our companies align, but they have been a phenomenal partner for us, not only in terms of helping us get connections with potential clients, but also CEO coaching. And I've done some roadshows with Steve, whether it's meeting President and Michelle Obama or, speaking in sustainability conferences. So they want to see your business succeed, and their actions show that.
And then how did that help with that first big round of fundraising?
It closed it. Truly, it's kind of like the process is it's no different than a sales pipeline, right? You kind of, who's committed to the round, who you need to soft circle. And then I think that kind of validation right there just made everyone say, yep, I'm in.
Sort of a legendary figure in his organization, essentially vouching for you.
Right.
And so that really did help close the deal.
Yeah.
And how big was that round?
That round was $1.8 million.
Did you then turn around and go right into this next one?
We did not. So that round, that seed capital was all about an 18-month runway. So again, the timing of that, we had just launched our software product. Like literally, we had a few customers under our belt, and we were just starting our journey as a software company. And so the intended use of funds on that round is we knew we wanted to mature the product that we had just launched, and then we actually also wanted to bring a new product to the market to serve even an entirely different market segment. And we knew that we needed about 18 months of runway to prove that out. And that's where we are today. Okay. Literally, we've proved it out. Again, we're in 9 states. Again, we're now up to 19 customers, and that bet is paying off.
What is the most valuable thing that you think you learned about pitching?
You really have to sell them on why you're passionate about your business and why, right? Yeah. And for us, we have a mission-driven business. So it's very easy when I talk to an investor, if they know nothing about water quality, and I get to say, actually, hey, we've impacted 3.4 million lives, and this is how the software and the kits do that, they've at least kind of done a parallel, right? It's a similar situation type thing. So that's, the most important aspect of not everyone's going to latch onto the same thing. So being able to want to know your audience and tell the right message to the right person that's going to attach to it is so critical. The numbers are the numbers. The reality is the facts are the facts, the numbers are the numbers, the industry is the industry. So either you're going to like those things or you're not. That's very black and white.
Where do you feel like when you're telling the story, at what point do they either get it or not?
for the people who don't know anything about water, I tell the story about a customer that we helped in, I'm not going to name the city. I can't name the city.
Sure.
But we were running one of their school programs. And we just happened to field a call from an owner who had just gotten the results from our platform. And every single one of their fixtures had lead exceedances. Every single one. And so part of our service is once we get a certain action level limit in, we drop ship pitcher filters so they have an alternate source of safe drinking water for their facility.
And you said pitcher filter.
Pitcher filter. Yeah,
Literally.
that's literally.
A pitcher with a filter.
Literally. Yep.
Okay.
I'll take you to fulfillment. We have a lot of them. We actually shipped over 7,000 in the last few months. But literally she called and she said, I just got my results and a lot of my children have been sick over the winter and I'm worried that I hurt them. Yeah. And it's like, that to me, I mean, I took this leap of faith because of my kids. Like, how often do you get to actually build a software product and build a company that's focused around, making things better, right? So we fielded it and obviously we followed protocols and all was great. We got everything's accomplished. But, when you say that you're making that type of an impact and helping kind of execute that level of compliance event, that hits most folks.
So what is the goal of the current fundraising round? This is a Series A round.
Series A round. Yeah. The goal is really to few milestones for this. One, in this round, we want to reach profitability by growing ARR exponentially, and then obviously to continue to.
When you say, I'm sorry, ARR, what is that?
Annual recurring revenue. So
okay.
Obviously we reach profitability by generating a lot more recurring revenue for the business. But then we have a very extensive software roadmap that we want to tackle as soon as possible because that's how we grow. The more compliance events that our software can manage for our clients, obviously the larger our business becomes.
And is there a dollar figure that you're trying to hit?
A minimum of $5 million.
Does these kind of things have like timelines, or do you just keep going until you get what you need?
Oh, no, we have a timeline. We need cash at a certain date. The way this works, and again, we're talking with a little bit more institutional investors at this point. So they want to know timelines. They want to say, hey, does your timeline match up with when we have an available fund? Or, are we currently deploying funds, or are they in the middle of raising? Because they're raising money too. So what we do is we have a date by which we want to close this round, and we are seeking our lead investors first. So we're going to folks that we've met both in water and locally as well, and saying, giving our pitch and going through diligence, and what comes of that is a term sheet. And then from there you negotiate.
And that's where you are right now?
Yes. Yeah, okay. Yeah. We're currently having conversations to find our lead investor.
Lead investor or investors?
Investor. There'll be multiple entities in the round, but we're looking for one to come with the terms.
We hear a lot about how difficult it is to raise venture capital in Indiana.
That has not been my experience. And again, I've only successfully completed a seed round. So I'll let you know in a few months how the A round goes. But I will tell you, I love Indiana. I was telling an investor from outside Indiana who was just here, like, this is a phenomenal community to build a business, especially a software business. And a couple things that we're seeing. One, seed capital is abundant. There's enough kind of seed capital through high impact angels and, family funds to fund, seed stage businesses. I'm convinced of that, right? It was fairly easy for us to do it, especially with the rise of the West Wind. I think as you go up in rounds and the more you're looking to raise, we have a few funds that are able to kind of complete those rounds or substantially lead those rounds. But what we're hearing from other investors outside of the state is that Indiana is actually a state that they want to invest in. Literally, we've heard it a couple of times when we've been talking to folks on the coast and one in the Carolinas. They said Indiana is a state where we are looking to do investments in.
Do they indicate why?
I mean, thanks to those who have come before us, such as, the ETs, the Aprimos, the software artistries.
And ET being Exact Target.
Yeah, Exact Target. We've cultivated this really amazing ecosystem of software talent. And Indiana is affordable. The cost of living is highly affordable. There's talent here. It's a community where everyone wants everyone else to succeed. Once you have a lot of those factors lining up, it just becomes a very attractive place to build a business. And not only that, but what's interesting for 120, that we didn't know this starting in Indiana, but also if you think about our proximity to the coasts and everywhere else, like, we're a logistics company, and Indiana is a phenomenal place to ship our kits from. We didn't know that at the time, right? But literally, we can be a to east or west or anywhere in between pretty seamlessly.
And you were one of our 40 Under 40 honorees a couple of years ago. And you had a quote. I think it said, "Do what you love and love what you do." What is it you love about this?
I love providing solutions to our customers that make their lives exponentially better. Like literally when I go home at night, I think about our customers and I think about our employees, our team. I love building this team that loves what they do and is providing for their family and are working really hard to build this business. So I love the team. And then, again, I love the fact that our clients can't do their jobs without what we provide them. And that's a very good feeling.
Well, best of luck to you on the Series A funding.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
My thanks again to Megan Glover. Hey folks, before you get on with the rest of your week, I wanted to draw your attention to a couple of stories in the latest edition of IBJ. Government reporter Lindsay Erdoty explains all the ways gambling could change in Indiana after a seismic legislative session, including how you could bet on sports. And Sam Quinn details the latest battle in Zionsville over proposed development downtown. This $40 billion project is inspiring familiar opposition from a lot of the same folks who have fought previous proposals, but this one might have more momentum than the rest. You can find these stories in the copy of IBJ you have delivered to your home or office and at IBJ.com. And to get unfettered access to all of IBJ's award-winning business content, just hit the subscribe button. Thanks again for making time for the IBJ podcast, which is edited by Leslie Weidenbenner. I'm Mason King, and we'll be back again next week.